All right, y'all. Welcome to the Smart Financial Jewels podcast show. I'm your host, King Jewelz, Julian Smartrimple here. Shout out to all of those who have been tracking with us throughout this season so far. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We talk about all things financial wellness and also financial education here on the SFJ show. The SFJ podcast show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn financial education, wisdom on how to live and travel debt free. And so, if you are someone that wants to be debt free, if you're someone that wants to travel the world, like myself and also a lot of our team and clients that we've worked with, you are in the right place for the Smart Financial Jewels podcast. If you're interested in being one of our guests on the SFJ show, you can fill out the link that are in our show notes or in our comments to sign up with one of our team members that will reach out to you once they look through your data to see if you fit our mission and our vision for the podcast show, and also if you are available based off of our international time zones. Also, you can listen to the Smart Financial Jewels podcast on Wisdom. It's a very similar app to Clubhouse that we use, on Twitter Spaces, and also on Spotify, Apple, any place that you listen to your favorite podcast or your favorite music artist. And so those are all of our introductions for the episode today for the Smart Financial Jewels podcast. I'm going to get ready to introduce my very special guest. He is a gentleman that I met while literally in Bangkok, Thailand recently. He was traveling for work. He was actually speaking at, I believe it's a Fintech conference or definitely a financial conference that he was speaking at as one of the guest speakers. And we got to talking. I told him about our journey of us traveling all throughout Southeast Asia, and being able to meet with entrepreneurs and young professionals like himself or himself to educate people on the importance of having the right financial education so that they can live and also travel the world debt free. And he was able to make himself available to us. I believe he's based out of India currently right now, but I'm going to allow him to introduce himself to you all, to talk to you all about the fintech industry and also what he sees in the future going into this year when it comes to the financial education system and also fintech at large. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce my very special guest. He goes by the name of Samir Gahlot, and he is going to be talking to us today about the fintech industry. Samir, how are you doing today, man?
Thank you, Julian, for introducing me. And at the outset, I would like to thank you for inviting me to be the part of this podcast on sharing more about the fintech industry and how your listeners could travel the world and be the part or be the part of this community and collab and contribute in a meaningful way. So thank you for
Absolutely.
that. And you rightly mentioned I'm based out of India, and it's fortunate that we were able to meet in Bangkok and discuss how we can take this collaboration going forward. So over to you now.
Yes, thank you for making yourself available too, King. What we usually have our guests do when they first come on to the podcast show, if you could tell us, how did you get into the finance industry? Did you go to school for it, or did you just happen to just start working in it just by chance? And also tell us, what do you currently do right now in your position?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And to give a brief background about myself, I'm from New Delhi, India. I did my studies in finance, majors in finance and law, and after that, I'm also a corporate governance professional. So you must have heard about this term, company secretary, and in different jurisdictions, this is also being known as corporate professional or corporate secretary. What they do is they manages whether the functions of the company or the governance of the company is being carried out in the manner which it's supposed to be as per the applicable laws and regulation in that particular country. Now, coming on the part, what I'm currently doing, I'm working with the National Internet Exchange of India. It's Internet Governance Division of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in India, wherein I'm dealing with various public policy issues which people are currently facing, be it in the finance side, be it in the accessibility side, be it in the affordability side, be it in the convenience side. And within this domain, there are multiple issues which I usually deal with. And now coming on the last leg of this question, how I'm dealing with the finance side. So uh, the work which I'm currently doing with National Internet Exchange of India, it's known as Internet Governance Space. So to be more precise, I'm an internet governance professional working to build an internet which is safe, secure, accessible, interoperable, and sustainable for each one of us. And within the internet, I'm also working on the fintech side. I think I can discuss more about the initiatives which I'm currently doing in the other segments or in other questions which we will be discussing going forward. Over to you, Jules.
Absolutely. Shout out to, of course, the international governance sector, and especially those who are in this industry. If you are wanting to even ask Samir any questions, for those who are catching us live or catching the replay, feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll get to any of the questions below, or we'll answer them after the premiere of this episode. But Samir, I know when we met, you were speaking at a conference, and for those who may have wanted to be at this type of conference before, if you could tell people just a brief summary of the conference that you and I met in Bangkok that you were speaking at, and then tell them like an overview of what you were teaching the guests that came to that conference, just so they can get a snippet or a summary of what you were speaking on.
Yeah, sure, Julian. So, in Bangkok, I was invited to be a panelist at the World AI Summit and the Web3 Expo. This is a summit which was organized by a committee which was backed by the Thailand government. So, I was speaking there on the internet governance. In short, you can also call as IG space. And within that IG space, I was discussing about the Global Digital Compact, the Summit of the Future, which recently concluded in the month of September under the aegis of the United Nations. And going forward in this podcast, we will be discussing more about the internet governance and the financial space, how they are interlinked with each other, and how the people or the listeners of your podcast can be the part of these engagement, as well as how they can travel free in these conferences. Yeah, over to you now.
Absolutely. And for those that are interested too, Samir, because I know we talked a little bit about it when we met about fintech. Can you let people know like what is fintech? How can someone potentially work in fintech based off of the career fields or the jobs that you've seen or even been a part of? Like, what is fintech?
Yeah, sure. So, uh, fintech, it's a term which is the combination of two terms, fin plus tech. What does that mean? It means the combination or the confluence of financial space into the technology space. And like let me give you a brief introduction about my interaction with the fintech space. In the past, I did a research on the fintech space, how technology is helping the fintech space to evolve and grow, how it is helping. Like if you see in the traditional world, we usually have formal banking sectors and informal banking sectors. What does that mean? Formal banking sector means the banks and the financial institutions which is legitimized and regularized by the government, and informal banking sector is something which exists outside the formal banking sector. And if we see the ratio of the funding which is coming from the formal and the informal banking sector, then informal banking sector is actually providing more funds to the people at the grassroots level, than the formal banking sector. So that is the reason why when the technology come into the picture, then these applications, or you can say that these payment platforms which uses the technology as a catalyst, started providing the funds to the people through the use of technology. Like recently we must have heard about these fintech players. Like in India, we have Razorpay, Neo, and certain other players who are actively working on enriching the user experience and providing the funds to the people in a lesser span of time, which was not the case previously when we were interacting with the formal banking sector without the use of technology. So this is something which, and now coming on the part which I did in the past, I wrote a research paper on how the fintech industry is evolving in various jurisdictions, including but not limited to Singapore, Malaysia, Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, and that paper got published in one of the reputed journal. I will definitely share the link with you so that you can disseminate it with the people or the listeners which you have. And so that paper helped me to understand the role of the fintech space and uh, how the people can be linked to this space. Because if the technology is not being used for the social good, then we are not appropriately or prudently using the technology for the purposes for which it should be used. So this is it from my side. And if you have any other question, I would definitely like to answer that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know, just as I think we were talking after we met in Thailand, I just recently traveled to Malaysia and even to Singapore. And I know you're from India, which is for real one of the tech hubs. I told you I still have to travel there to India to check out all what India has to offer. But even tell people, with you being in India and you, of course, being born in India, like how is the tech bubble in India? How is fintech being used in India to help the world, especially with other nations in the Western world, all the way to in the eastern side of the hemisphere? Like how has India become one of the main tech hubs to be in or even to go to in fintech?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Julian, for that question. So, let me give you a brief overview of what a country India look like. So, India is the most populous country currently in the world, with the youngest population dividend which we have, which is being recognized by the term demographic dividend, and it will keep on expanding until I believe 2030. So, one of the most populous country with one of the youngest population, and which has one of the very proactive and vibrant startup culture. And when all these things are merged with the technology, you can imagine the exponential impact on the people. And that is the reason why India currently in the fintech space, it is known as one of the leaders. And I'm not sure if your listeners or you must have heard about these QR codes. So in India, if we want to do any transaction, like for paying a bill or for paying for any purchase which we made, we just need to like scan a QR code through our mobile phones, and we can do that instantly through this UPI, which stands for Unified Payment Interface. And this UPI, it is built on DPI. So DPI stands for Digital Public Infrastructure, and this DPI overall, uh, on the top of DPI we have DPG, which stands for Digital Public Goods. So DPG, DPI, all these make a proper ecosystem, digital ecosystem or infrastructure, so that these application could function. And this DPI, DPG, India is very like India is proposing these initiatives to the people in other countries also, and I believe other countries have also adopted this UPI payment interface. For example, France recently opted that, Thailand opted that, and some other countries. I'm unable to recall the name of all the countries, but this is what India is currently doing. And in India, this particular infrastructure is known as Indian stack. But when we like try to refer this entire infrastructure outside India, this is known as citizen stack. So these are some important terms which anyone would like to enter into this field need to be very well aware about. So this is it from my side. So if you would want to add any other question, I'm happy to add. Happy
Yeah,
to like answer that.
yeah, you're educating me, bro, on a lot of the terms, especially for those who are looking to go into fintech or even into any form of technology. Go and research and look up the terms that Samir is dropping on us today, because you have to be aware and also have to be educated. And Samir, we always talk about like a lot of the hurdles that you foresee or that any of our guests foresee in the financial industry with economies that are up and down right now. Especially, I know you probably heard a lot about the West. Has been having a lot of talk around our incoming president Trump that's being inaugurated tomorrow. But a lot of the tech industry has been very much so on a frenzy or on a tilt right now. And so, like, what are some of the issues that you foresee being in India, especially, and seeing like fintech either having in the next year or in the next 2 to 3 years? And then what are some ways that people can get ahead of any of the issues or any of the struggles that may come with the financial technology industry?
Thank you, Julian, for that question. I mean, it's a very particular and interesting question to answer. Presently, I think India is one of the stable country and which is growing, which is considered as one of the fastest growing economy in the world, with a fair growth rate, and it keeps on expanding as soon as we will be in a position to utilize the demographic dividend which we have, which we are doing pretty well so far. But you never know about the future. And coming on the digital policy, let me give you a brief introduction about the work which I'm currently doing with Asia Pacific Policy Observatory. I'm over there, I'm analyzing the impact of technology or the digital policies during the elections, because during the elections you eventually get to know what is the priority of a particular government. So within that, in the first leg of 2024, we released this report analyzing the impact of digital technologies or digital policies during elections in economies such as Bangladesh, Bhutan, Taiwan, Tuvalu. And in the second leg, we are analyzing the impact of digital policies before, during, and after elections in economies like South Korea, Japan, Singapore, India. So I would request your users or listeners to definitely go to the website of netmission.asia and refer to the Asia Pacific Policy Observatory report, which uh, the first the first report, which they released in 2024, is already available on their website. And the second report, which we will be releasing very shortly, like maybe the next, maybe coming week. So now coming to your question, the challenges which we are currently facing. So within the fintech sector, everything is connected to the internet, and when everything is connected to the internet there is no borders, and when there is no borders, then these crimes, financial frauds, they are very common. So in order to reduce that, we need to make sure we are making our ecosystem robust, stable, and safe. And we also need to make sure that the privacy which is available to each and every citizen who are accessing these websites or these applications should be there, so that the confidence and favorable atmosphere should be there. And in order to build all of these, there should be peace and stability within the economy. And on the top of that, like I've already mentioned in the beginning, that the peace and stability within the economy is also required. But the internet doesn't know any borders. So if we are interacting with the people, for example, staying in US, we also need to make sure the transaction interoperability part is also secured. So the geopolitical tension should be reduced in that case. and there is a uh, favorable atmosphere between the government or between the citizens of these two countries. Like, let me give you one example. If we are doing any transaction with certain blacklisted countries, which you must have heard about this list, uh, like Sudan and some other countries are there, with which we cannot do any financial transaction due to the sanctions and other orders which are like released by the appropriate governments. So if we try to do any transaction with these countries, then it's not safe, because they may be using any other software or any other technological equipment which could expose us to unwanted safeties or unwanted threats. So that is something which I would like to inform to your listeners on that part. Over to you now.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was gonna ask before we get ready to wind down too, Samir, is all about like cyber tech and cybersecurity. I know we spoke a little bit about it, but in the US, they've had, of course, hackers that have hacked into the banking system and allowed people to not receive their deposits on time from work. And we've heard about in Greece and other places where some of the local citizens have not been able to get their money out of the bank. But what ways would you tell someone that's listening to our podcast episode today to maybe prepare themselves or their family so that they don't have situations like that occur in their family or in their country where they don't have access to their money or their capital? Like what ways, from what you've heard in the fintech industry, are safety measures that the local or regular everyday person can do to shield their finances from stuff like that?
Yeah, thank you, Julian. That is a very important question, because if you are interacting in this space, then you should also be aware about the risk and the grievances which are available to you, or which you are exposed to. Now, coming on that part, I believe the capacity building will definitely play a major role in that. Like, for example, if let's consider a country like Germany, which has an aging population. In that case, we need to make sure our strategy needs to be a different one. On the other hand, if we consider or talk about India, we have a demographic dividend. The strategy would differ according to the economic situation or according to the population size. Like in India, when we have the youth, we need to make sure we are advancing the youth at a level wherein if any threats comes, or if any threats happens to them, or if any threats or any threat is there, then they are equipped with the right strategy or the right mindset at that time. Like, for example, let me illustrate it with an example. Like, for example, if anyone is getting a phone call, like, you must have heard about these deep fakes wherein people are calling on the context or on the pretext to be someone which they are not. uh, for example, if my father is calling and saying that I need this much funds, you need to make sure the phone call is coming from the credible source first. Second, you need to double check with your father whether he is actually asking for the money or not. Thirdly, if you were able to filter first two steps, then third, you need to make sure you are transferring the funds in the right account, your father's account, not on the account or on the link which that particular person is sharing. If all these steps are clear, then you need to make sure the money is actually received by your father. So these are certain steps which differ according to the population size and according to the threats prevalent in any particular jurisdiction, because uh, something which is prevalent in US may not be prevalent in India, and something which is prevalent in India may not be prevalent in Germany. People exploit the weakest link, and weakest link differs from jurisdiction to jurisdictions. So this the basic things which we should be aware of is the knowledge, and the knowledge of the laws is a must for everyone. I'm not asking you to be the expert in the law, but a basic knowledge of how to file a complaint, how to file a grievance redressal, what are the steps to be followed, needs to be with everyone, because there is this one famous quote in the legal profession: ignorance of law is not an excuse. So you cannot give an excuse that I was not aware about the law. So these are my few like tips or sense on this part.
Yeah, no, that's definitely right on par with what all of us need to be understanding, that we have to secure ourselves and also be able to have the right security for any type of cyber threats or any type of tech threats that will be coming in the near future. And so, Samir, before we let you go, just in talking about the let's talk about blockchain, and also when it comes to Bitcoin. You and I were talking a little bit about that when we were in Bangkok at our lodging that we all were staying at. But when it comes to blockchain and also Bitcoin, I don't know if you heard recently that President Trump, he just released a meme coin that he's looking, of course, to run up the numbers in the US right now. And everyone has been talking about blockchain since 2019, 2020. But where do you see the future going for big countries like India, like the United States of the continent, and also with China, and even with places like Singapore and Malaysia that we just spoke on? Where do you see blockchain going as a main form of payment and exchange with the currency? And then also, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin taking over the usage of dollars?
Yeah, thank you, Julian. Before jumping to this question, I would like to add something because in the beginning, when we mentioned what would be the context of this podcast, then I mentioned that I will also be sharing certain tips as to how you can travel the world. So currently, I'm traveling the world, like through representing different organizations as a speaker, as a panelist, and through that, I can easily travel the world. And so far, I've traveled to Switzerland, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Germany, Bangkok, and many more will be there. But to give you a brief about how you can travel, you can apply for fellowships, you can apply for research grants, and you can, depending on the knowledge or the repository which you possess, you can definitely be a speaker, and through that, it's one area wherein you can travel free of cost. Now, coming to the question which you were asking, what's the future of the blockchain? Way back in 2022, I believe, yeah, I did a research on the blockchain part, or more specifically the NFT part, non-fungible tokens, and I realized that some of the countries like UAE, they are very proactive in promoting Bitcoins or NFTs, and they even, in fact, established certain authorities. ADHD is one such authority in Dubai, which manages the usage of the NFTs and whether licenses needs to be taken for the organizations which are working in this field. But in India, currently the law is very silent. But on the other hand, when it comes to the taxation part, uh, if any income you are earning from Bitcoin, it's taxable at the rate of 30%. But it means that the usage is not prohibit, or the operation is not prohibit. But if you are earning the income from out of that, you need to disclose it to the authorities, and you need to pay 30% tax. Coming on the part whether what is the future of this space, I believe the economy currently is in a very fragile position, and the way Bitcoin is innovating this landscape, it's helping uh, the community players as well as the developers to, to bring something innovative to the table. And as soon as this technology or this instrument will be able to innovate, I believe the future will be bright. And if we see any stagnant growth within this sector, uh, then I believe the government will accordingly respond to these situations. So it totally depends on economy to economy, because all the economies are not same, and all the economies are not don't have the same objective for which they are currently working. So if we talk about India, then it's taxable, but they are letting it to innovate till the extent you are not harming the privacy and the security of any other person. Over to you now.
Absolutely. And so you've heard it first from Samir. You have to be educating or even re-educating yourself about the blockchain and also about, of course, Bitcoin. Y'all know we talk about different forms of payment systems, especially, which is one of the main reasons we've traveled all over the globe to see how different countries are managing their payment and currency exchange, and each country is completely different, as you heard Samir say. And so, Samir, I know we're pressed for time, but how can people stay in contact with you, King, if they want to support what you're doing on the road and traveling to different conferences, or even if they want to follow you and your journey? Can they stay in contact with you on social media, a website? Let people know how they can stay in contact with you if they have any other follow-up questions after today.
Yeah, definitely, Julian. They can stay in touch with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Instagram, and I'm also creating a community wherein people can directly interact with me. Because if you're traveling to these conferences, you are meeting people of like different fields and different expertise, and you usually interact them on these social media platform like WhatsApp, Instagram, LinkedIn. But when you create a community of your own, which I'm in the process of, then you can directly interact with that person, and depending on the expertise of that person, you can directly reach out to that person also. So these are various platforms on which I'm currently available, and I will definitely share the link to all the social medias wherein I'm very active, as well as the community which I will be sharing very soon. So happy to answer any questions which they may have.
Absolutely. So we'll put all the ways you can stay in contact with Samir in our show notes and also in the comment section of today's episode. Thank you again, Samir, for taking time out of your busy schedule, King. We appreciate you sharing a ton of jewels, financial jewels, with our audience and how they can live and also travel the world debt free and also have the financial wisdom that you were able to drop on them for today to make their dreams a reality. And so we'll be in touch, Samir. Thanks again for the interview today, King, and you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Julian, for inviting me, and thank you to the listeners. Happy to answer any questions. I will be sharing my social medias to Julian, and he will definitely share it with you. Thank you once again. Have a great week, and keep on uploading good pictures. I like seeing you.
All right, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. We'll be in touch
thank
soon
you.
and you enjoy the rest of the week, King. Peace.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye.
All right, y'all. We're going to do just a quick wrap up for some final jewels for today's episode. You just heard from Samir. He was dropping a ton of wisdom on how you need to prepare for the future, especially with the cyber tech industry. You hear about it, but until it hits your home, until you hear that something is affecting your pockets and you can't access your finances or your banking system, then you're not really taking it serious. But just as we see a lot of catastrophes happening all around the world this year, from fires to storms to hurricanes, earthquakes, all the things that you can possibly think of are going to occur this year, but you need to be getting ahead of how to make sure your financial future is secure, and also how are you preparing you and your family for any of the floods, the rains, the storms, the fires, or even the hurricanes that may come. And so we always believe that debt free is the way to live fully and truly free from the matrix, and also how you can live your dreams and allow your dreams to become a reality by traveling the world. And so follow us on this journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode, you can feel free to stay in touch with myself and also our team by going to www.smartjewelz, enterprises.org. That's smartjewelsenterprises.org. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn and also on YouTube at King Jewelz Speaks or at Julian Smartrimple. But you definitely want to track with us to sign up for any of our resources. We have financial coaching services that we offer. We have online courses. We have events, conferences, and also different trips that we take for solo and also group trips who are individuals wanting to travel the world and be around other content creators and entrepreneurs who are looking to be debt free and to also have a FIRE movement to retire early. And so track with us. If you've been following my journey for any length of time, you know I'm all about teaching financial wellness, health and wellness, and most importantly, personal transformation. And so we are wanting to transform our finances this year, but you have to do your part and also connect with us and our services that we offer, and stay tuned for the next episode. I'm King Jewelz signing off for our special episode that we just were able to launch today with Samir Gahlot, who dropped a ton of jewels on how you need to be informed about fintech, and fintech is the future. And so we'll see y'all next episode. Y'all stay hydrated, stay blessed, shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be. And until we meet again, peace, y'all.